Your silence is killing them. Ladies and gentlemen, silence is often seen as golden, a mark of wisdom or a space for reflection, but there are moments when silence is far from virtuous, moments when silence becomes a weapon, wielded not out of malice, but out of fear, indifference, or ignorance. In these moments, silence does not heal, it harms. It does not protect, it destroys. Today, I want to challenge you to see silence not as an absence of action, but as an action itself. Your silence, my silence, has the power to shape lives, to influence outcomes, and tragically, to prolong suffering. For those in pain, in need, or facing injustice, silence is not a pause, it is a verdict. As we explore this truth together, I invite you to reflect not just on the words you've spoken, but on the words you've withheld. Ask yourself who might be waiting for your voice, who might be suffering because of your silence. Because make no mistake, your silence is not neutral. Your silence is killing them. Ladies and gentlemen, silence is often misunderstood. Many believe that it is the absence of sound, a passive state that carries no weight or consequence. But silence, in truth, is anything but neutral. It is a force powerful, intentional, and deeply influential. Just as words have the power to build or destroy, so does silence. When we choose not to speak in moments when our voice is needed, we are not simply stepping back, we are making a choice that carries profound consequences. Consider this: every word we utter has the potential to bring life, clarity, and change. Words can challenge injustice, inspire hope, and create pathways for progress. But what happens when we hold those words back? Silence in such moments is not an escape from responsibility, it is a decision to abandon it. It is the act of withholding the very tool that could alter the course of a situation, leaving those in need to face their struggles alone. Imagine a scenario where someone is drowning in a sea of despair, crying out for help, and all they receive in response is silence. This silence does not soothe, it stings. It does not protect, it abandons. Your silence, my silence, becomes the very thing that deepens their pain. When you see someone struggling, your words are like a life raft. To remain silent is to watch them drown while holding the power to save them. This is where we must confront a hard truth: silence is never passive. It is an active choice. Every time we choose silence over speaking out, we contribute to the outcome of a situation. Whether it's in the face of injustice, suffering, or a need for encouragement, our silence sends a message. It says, your struggle is not worth my discomfort. It says, your pain is not significant enough for me to risk my voice. But why do we remain silent? Fear often plays a significant role. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of stepping out of our comfort zone. We convince ourselves that our silence is justified, that someone else will speak up, that our voice is not enough. But fear is a poor guide when it comes to doing what is right. The truth is, courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting despite it. When we look at history, the voices that have changed the world were not those without fear, they were those who refused to let fear dictate their actions. They spoke when silence was easier, they acted when inaction felt safer. Their courage was not in being unafraid, but in recognizing the weight of their words and choosing to wield them responsibly. Think of the countless moments in your life when a word of encouragement, a simple acknowledgement, or a voice of support could have made all the difference. Think of the people you've encountered who might still be waiting for your words to bring clarity to their confusion or light to their darkness. You might not feel that your voice matters, but let me assure you it does. Silence has a ripple effect, just as words do. When we withhold our voice, the consequences extend far beyond the immediate moment. The silence we choose today can perpetuate a cycle of pain, misunderstanding, and stagnation that affects not only the individual before us, but the broader community around them. Your silence today can create a legacy of inaction that others may follow. On the other hand, choosing to speak up, even when it feels difficult, has the power to break that cycle. A single voice can inspire others to find their own. A single word can bring healing to wounds that have been left untreated for far too long. Your words, no matter how small they may seem, carry the potential to create change. Let me be clear, this is not about speaking for the sake of speaking. It is about speaking with purpose, with intentionality, and with a heart that seeks to uplift and empower. There is a difference between noise and a voice. Noise fills the air with meaningless sounds. A voice brings clarity, direction, and hope. It is not enough to simply speak. We must speak in a way that brings life. But we cannot do this if we remain trapped by the fear of our own inadequacies. The truth is, you may not always have the perfect words. You may not always say things the way you wish you had. But perfection is not required, presence is. Showing up, speaking up, and refusing to be silent when your voice is needed is what matters most. In the end, we must ask ourselves, what legacy do we want to leave? A legacy of silence that allowed pain and injustice to flourish, or a legacy of courage that dared to speak truth and bring hope? The choice is ours. Silence will always be easier, but it will never be harmless. So as we reflect on the power of words and the weight of silence, let us remember that our voice is a gift, not to be hoarded, but to be shared. It is a tool that can build bridges, mend wounds, and inspire change. And when we choose to use it, we become part of a legacy that values action over inaction, courage over fear, and life over indifference. Ladies and gentlemen, the choice is ours. Will we remain silent, or will we speak with purpose? Every day we are presented with choices to act or to remain passive, to speak up or to stay silent. With each choice there comes a responsibility. This responsibility is not just about what we choose to do, but about what we fail to do. Often we talk about the importance of what we say or the steps we take, but there's an equally powerful responsibility in what we fail to address when we do nothing. This responsibility to act is not just a moral obligation, it is a fundamental part of our existence. Something that goes beyond just living it is about fulfilling the purpose for which we were created. We live in a world that thrives on action. We live in a world where change happens because people take responsibility for their environments, their families, their communities, and their world. This is not just about individual action. This is about the collective responsibility we all carry, because we are not isolated beings. The life you lead, the decisions you make, the actions you take or fail to take impact those around you, whether you realize it or not. Let us reflect for a moment on the notion of responsibility. It's easy to think of responsibility as something external, a duty or obligation placed on us by society, by family, or by circumstance. But responsibility is not something forced upon us. It is something inherent in our nature. We were designed to carry responsibility. It is part of the very core of who we are. Responsibility is not just about fulfilling tasks. It is about understanding the power that comes with our actions, both spoken and unspoken. When we see someone in need, we face a choice to act or to remain passive. There is no neutral ground. Choosing not to act is not the same as doing nothing. It is a deliberate decision that sends a message. It says that the needs of others are not important enough for us to intervene. It says that our comfort, our peace, or our convenience is more valuable than the pain or struggle of another. We may convince ourselves that someone else will step in, that the issue isn't ours to address, but that kind of thinking is dangerous. If everyone believes that someone else will act, then no one acts. The responsibility falls on all of us, and it is in our hands to change the course of events with our decisions. We all have a purpose. Each one of us has been placed on this earth with a unique contribution to make. But purpose is not a passive experience. It requires engagement. It demands that we use our talents, our time, and our influence to bring about positive change. When we refuse to engage, when we ignore the responsibilities placed before us, we fail to live out the purpose for which we were created. It is not enough to simply exist. We must actively pursue the fulfillment of our purpose. Consider this: you have been given a voice, not just for your own benefit, but to bring light to the darkness in the lives of others. We all encounter moments of injustice, hardship, and suffering. In these moments, your voice is more than just sound. It is a tool for change, a means to inspire, to lift, to transform. When you withhold your voice, when you choose silence over action, you are allowing suffering to persist. You are abandoning your responsibility to be a part of the solution. Responsibility is not just about what we do, it is about how we do it. It is about how we use our influence. Every choice we make, every action we take has a ripple effect. You may think that your small action doesn't matter, that your single voice won't be heard, that your one decision won't change anything, but nothing could be further from the truth. It is the accumulation of individual acts that create the larger picture. It is the single drop of water that contributes to the ocean. When you fail to act, you leave a gap. When you choose not to speak, you create an absence. Your silence does not leave the situation untouched, it alters it. I want you to consider the impact of your inaction in the face of the suffering of others. Think about the times when you saw someone in pain, when you knew they needed help, and you chose to look the other way. In those moments, your inaction did not simply allow the problem to persist, it contributed to it. When we fail to step up, we are complicit in the problem. Our inaction is, in itself, a decision. It says, this does not matter enough for me to act. I will not bear the responsibility of change. But the consequences of that choice are profound. You may not see the immediate effects of your inaction, but they are there, rippling outward, affecting others in ways that are often unseen. When you choose to act, however, the opposite is true. When you take responsibility, you create a force for change that extends beyond your immediate environment. When you speak up, when you step in, you become part of a larger movement. Your voice becomes the voice of many. Your action becomes the action of many. And when we come together, when we all choose to take responsibility for the world around us, we can change the course of history. Responsibility is not limited to grand gestures or monumental actions. It's found in the daily choices we make. It's found in the moments when no one is watching. It's in the simple act of offering help to someone in need, of standing up for what is right, of showing compassion when it's needed most. It's in the small acts of kindness that over time build a culture of responsibility. But it's also in the difficult moments, the moments when doing the right thing is hard, when it means stepping out of our comfort zones or taking risks. Responsibility asks us to give of ourselves. It asks us to be vulnerable, to take on the burden of others' pain, to stand up for those who cannot stand for themselves. It demands that we put aside our fears, our insecurities, and our doubts and choose to act anyway. This is the heart of responsibility. It is not about what we stand to gain, but about what we can give. It's about recognizing that as human beings, we are called to contribute, to add value, to make the world around us better. When we live with a sense of responsibility, we stop seeing ourselves as passive observers of life, and we begin to see ourselves as active participants in the unfolding story of humanity. Your responsibility is not just about your own life. It is about the lives of those around you. It is about the community you are a part of, the family you belong to, and the world you inhabit. You are not isolated. You are connected to others, and the choices you make impact them. When you take responsibility, you embrace the fullness of who you are and who you are meant to be in the lives of others. In the world we live in today, there is an insidious force that often goes unacknowledged: indifference. It is a silent killer creeping into our hearts and minds, dulling our compassion and allowing suffering to continue without any intervention. Indifference is the absence of care, the refusal to act in the face of injustice or need. It is the choice to turn a blind eye to the pain of others, to dismiss the cries for help, to be unmoved by the struggles that unfold right in front of us. And when we allow indifference to take root, we become complicit in the suffering of others. You see, indifference is not merely the lack of action, it is a decision to disregard the needs of others. It's the act of ignoring the suffering around us because it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or because we believe it doesn't directly affect us. But this mindset is dangerous. It breeds an environment where people suffer in silence, where injustices persist unchecked, and where communities are fractured because no one is willing to step forward and make a difference. Indifference is not just a failure to act, it is a silent endorsement of the status quo, a perpetuation of the very systems that keep people oppressed, marginalized, or in pain. We must confront the reality that when we choose to be indifferent, we inadvertently give permission for suffering to continue. We may not be directly causing the suffering, but by failing to speak out, by choosing not to act, we are in essence agreeing to let it go on. The suffering of the oppressed, the marginalized, the downtrodden is a collective responsibility. The pain of one is the pain of all. When we turn a blind eye to that pain, we allow it to deepen, to fester, and to consume the spirit of our communities. Indifference is a choice that comes from a place of fear, convenience, or self-preservation. We often tell ourselves that we don't have the power to make a difference, that the problem is too big for us to tackle, that someone else will step in. But this mindset is dangerous. It breeds inaction and apathy, making us feel disconnected from the problems that affect others. It allows us to continue in our comfortable lives while others suffer in silence. The truth is, we all have a role to play. No matter how small or insignificant we may feel, our actions matter. Our voices matter. The choice to speak up, to stand up, to act, even in the smallest ways, can make a profound difference. Every action, every word, every step toward justice and compassion has a ripple effect. It has the power to inspire others, to change minds, to shift perspectives, and ultimately to create change. The problem we face is not that we are powerless, it is that we too often choose to ignore our own power. Think about the times in your life when you saw someone in need and chose not to act. Perhaps it was a person who was being treated unjustly, or someone who was struggling emotionally, or a situation where something wasn't right, but you chose not to get involved. Maybe you told yourself that it wasn't your business, that you didn't have the right to intervene, or that your involvement wouldn't change anything. In those moments, your indifference was not a neutral act, it was a decision that allowed the situation to persist. Now, I'm not suggesting that we are all responsible for every single problem in the world. There are times when we cannot directly intervene, when we are not in a position to change the course of events. But that doesn't mean we are powerless. Sometimes the act of standing in solidarity, of lending a word of encouragement, or of raising our voices in protest is all it takes to make a difference. The issue is not the size of the action, it is the willingness to take action at all. Indifference also breeds a lack of empathy. When we allow ourselves to become indifferent, we stop seeing others as fellow human beings who are deserving of care and attention. We start to view the struggles of others as distant, as something that happens to other people in other places, and not as something that affects us all. But the truth is, the suffering of one is the suffering of many. We are all interconnected, and what happens to one person has a ripple effect on the larger community. When we allow suffering to continue unchecked, we diminish the quality of life for everyone. Moreover, indifference perpetuates a cycle of isolation. When people feel that their struggles are ignored, they become isolated. They feel unheard, unseen, and unimportant. This sense of isolation can lead to despair, to hopelessness, and to the belief that nothing will ever change. But when we choose to break the silence, when we step in to offer support or to raise awareness, we offer connection. We show others that they are not alone, that their pain matters, and that there are people who care enough to act. This act of connection is powerful. It reaffirms our shared humanity and reminds us that no matter how difficult the circumstances, we are all in this together. It is easy to fall into the trap of believing that our actions don't matter, that we are just one person in a vast sea of humanity. But this is a lie. Every action, no matter how small, has a ripple effect. Every time we speak out against injustice, every time we extend a hand of compassion, every time we choose to stand with those who are suffering, we make a difference. The power of one voice, one action, one act of kindness is immeasurable. It has the potential to spark change, to inspire others, and to create a wave of transformation that can spread far beyond what we can see. So I ask you today, where does your indifference lie? What suffering have you witnessed and chosen to ignore? What injustices have you seen and allowed to continue because it was easier to turn away? It is time to confront our indifference, to recognize that silence is not an option. We are called to be active participants in the healing of the world. We are called to use our voices, our actions, and our influence to make a difference. Every day we are presented with opportunities to act. It is up to us to choose to seize them, to break the cycle of indifference, and to step forward as agents of change. We cannot afford to remain silent. We cannot afford to allow suffering to continue unchecked. The world is waiting for us to act. The people who are suffering, the ones who are oppressed, the ones who feel unheard, they are waiting for us to step up and make a difference. It is time for us to stop being indifferent and start being the change we wish to see. It is time for us to speak, to act, and to break the cycle of silence. The power of a single voice cannot be underestimated. We often think of change as something that requires grand movements, large groups of people, or monumental acts. We imagine it as something that happens in the streets, on the world stage, or in the headlines of history. But the truth is, change begins with one voice. It begins with the courage of a single individual who dares to speak out, to challenge the status quo, to bring hope and inspiration into a dark world. There is an undeniable ripple effect that begins with a single word, a single action, a single choice to stand up for what is right. When one person speaks, others listen, and when one person acts, others are inspired to do the same. The courage of one voice can ignite a movement, shift an entire culture, and bring about lasting transformation. But this is only possible when we realize the potential that resides within us. Every individual has a voice. We are all equipped with the ability to speak, to influence, and to impact the world around us. However, many of us are unaware of the power that our voice holds. We may feel small, insignificant, or incapable of making a difference. We may believe that our words will not be heard or that the problems we face are too big for us to tackle. But this kind of thinking is a trap. It keeps us from stepping into our purpose, from realizing the potential that lies dormant within us. When we choose to speak, we do not only express our thoughts, we share our power. Our words are a reflection of our thoughts, our beliefs, and our convictions. When we speak with conviction, when we speak truth, we tap into a power that transcends the limits of our own circumstances. Our voice becomes a conduit for change, a tool for transformation, and a source of inspiration for others. Think about the times in your life when someone's words have had a profound impact on you. Perhaps it was a teacher who believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself, or a friend who encouraged you during a time of hardship. It could have been a leader who spoke truth to power, or an ordinary person who simply shared their story and reminded you that you are not alone. These moments, though they may seem small, have the power to change the course of our lives. A single voice can provide the encouragement we need to keep going, to face our challenges, and to pursue our dreams. The ripple effect of one voice extends beyond the immediate moment. When you speak out, when you share your thoughts, ideas, and experiences, you are planting seeds of change. Those seeds will grow and they will inspire others to speak, to act, and to bring about change in their own lives. The impact of your words is never confined to you alone. It spreads outward, touching the lives of others in ways that may be impossible to predict. It is in the moments of courage, when we step out of our comfort zones and use our voice to bring about change, that we see the true power of one voice. But courage does not come without fear. It is natural to feel afraid, to feel uncertain about speaking up, especially when the odds seem insurmountable. But courage is not the absence of fear, it is the willingness to act despite fear. It is the choice to speak up even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it seems like no one is listening, even when the cost is high. Throughout history, it has often been a single voice that has ignited a revolution, brought attention to an injustice, or brought about a shift in the collective mindset. Think of the voices that have challenged oppressive systems, that have spoken up for the marginalized, that have demanded equality and justice. These voices may have started small, but they grew in strength as more people heard them, believed in them, and were inspired by them. A single voice can spark a movement that changes the world. But let's not be fooled into thinking that change is easy. It is not. Standing up, speaking out, and challenging the status quo is hard. It is often uncomfortable, and it can be costly. But that is where the true power of one voice lies, not in its ease or comfort, but in its ability to push us beyond what we thought was possible. The voice of one person can be the catalyst for transformation, and it all starts with a willingness to use that voice. The ripple effect of one voice is not limited to the big moments, the grand speeches, or the public demonstrations. It is also found in the quiet conversations, the one-on-one interactions, and the small acts of kindness that go unnoticed by many, but are felt deeply by the person who receives them. When we speak words of encouragement, when we offer a listening ear, when we give advice that helps someone navigate a difficult situation, we are using our voice to make a difference. These small moments have the power to shift someone's perspective, to change their outlook, and to give them the strength they need to move forward. We must also understand that our voice is not just a tool for personal gain, but a gift that can be used to serve others. When we speak with purpose, when we use our words to uplift, to inspire, and to empower, we tap into the true potential of our voice. Our words should not be used to tear down, to belittle, or to divide. Instead, they should be used to build up, to encourage, and to unite. The power of our voice is greatest when it is used in service to others, when it is used to help, to heal, and to bring people together. But too often we underestimate the power of our voice. We assume that we have nothing to contribute, that our words will not make a difference, or that someone else will speak up. This is a dangerous mindset. When we allow ourselves to remain silent, we give up the opportunity to influence change. We allow our fears, our insecurities, and our doubts to keep us from stepping into the fullness of who we are meant to be. We deny the world the benefit of our unique perspective, our experiences, and our ideas. If we are to make a difference in this world, we must embrace the power of our voice. We must recognize that every word we speak has the potential to change the course of events. Every action we take, every step we make creates a ripple effect that can inspire others to follow suit. The impact of our voice is not limited to our own sphere. It extends outward, touching lives, inspiring action, and shaping the world in ways we cannot always see or understand. When we choose to use our voice, we do more than just speak. We take responsibility for the world around us. We choose to be agents of change, to be part of a movement that brings hope, healing, and transformation to a broken world. Our voice is a powerful tool, one that can bring life, light, and love to those who need it most. The question is not whether we have the power to change the world with our voice. It is whether we are willing to use it. The choice is ours, and the time is now. Every one of us is born with a purpose. It is a truth that transcends circumstance, culture, and condition. Each of us has been given a unique role to play in the grand tapestry of life, and it is only through fulfilling this purpose that we can truly understand the depth of our significance. However, there is something more than just fulfilling this purpose. There is the responsibility to step into it, to acknowledge the call, and to act on it with all the courage, integrity, and commitment that it requires. The world we live in is filled with distractions. It's easy to become caught up in the noise, to chase after the fleeting pleasures of life, and to lose sight of the deeper calling that resides within us. So many of us spend years or even entire lifetimes wandering through life without fully understanding or embracing our purpose. But this is not because the purpose does not exist. It's because we allow fear, complacency, and the distractions of the world to keep us from recognizing it or from answering the call when it comes. Purpose is not something we can create on our own. It is something that is given to us, something that we discover as we grow and develop, and as we come to understand who we truly are. Your purpose is embedded in your being. It is in the way you think, the way you feel, the way you interact with the world. It is reflected in the gifts, talents, and abilities you have been given. Your purpose is not just about what you do, it is about who you are at your core. It's the expression of your true self in the world, the impact you make by simply being who you were designed to be. Too often, we look outside of ourselves for meaning, for validation, or for the key to our purpose. We search for it in the approval of others, in material success, or in the accumulation of power. But purpose is not something that can be found externally. It comes from within. It is a quiet, persistent whisper, urging you to rise, to reach higher, and to step fully into the life you were meant to live. But there is a challenge that comes with understanding and stepping into your purpose, and that challenge is often fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, or fear of the unknown. It's easy to let these fears prevent us from moving forward. It's easy to listen to the voices that say we're not good enough, that we don't have what it takes, or that the world doesn't need what we have to offer. But these voices are lies. They are distractions designed to keep us from the truth of who we are. The fear that we experience is not a reflection of our inadequacy. It is a reflection of our potential. Every time you feel fear rising within you, understand that it is simply the indication that you are on the verge of stepping into something great. Fear is a sign that you are stretching beyond your comfort zone, that you are being called to rise to a higher level. The key to overcoming fear is not to ignore it, but to move through it, to take action despite it. The more you move forward, the more fear loses its grip on you. The world does not need more people who are simply existing. The world needs people who are living with purpose. People who are committed to making a difference, people who are willing to speak the truth, to act with integrity, and to give of themselves in service to others. We are all part of something much larger than ourselves. The purpose you fulfill is not just about you, it is about the impact you have on those around you, on the community you serve, and on the world you leave behind. Purpose is not just a personal journey, it is a collective one. We are all connected, and our actions have an impact on others, whether we recognize it or not. Your purpose is intertwined with the lives of others. When you step into your purpose, you create a ripple effect that influences those around you. Your success, your growth, your transformation will inspire others to step into their own purpose as well. Purpose is not a solitary endeavor, it is a shared experience that enriches the lives of all who are touched by it. But with purpose comes responsibility. When you know your purpose, when you understand what you are called to do, you can no longer remain passive. You must act. You must take responsibility for the impact that your life is meant to have. This is not a burden, but a privilege. The privilege of knowing that you have the power to shape the world, to influence lives, and to leave a legacy that will last long after you are gone. We often think of purpose in terms of achievement. We think that purpose is about reaching a certain destination or attaining a specific goal. While this is part of the picture, purpose is much more than that. It is about the journey. It is about the growth you experience along the way, the people you meet, and the lives you touch. It is about the way you carry yourself, the way you use your gifts, and the way you interact with the world. Purpose is a living, breathing expression of who you are. And it is not always easy. Fulfilling your purpose requires hard work, perseverance, and sometimes sacrifice. There will be moments of doubt, moments when you question whether you are on the right path, moments when the obstacles seem insurmountable. But these moments are not signs that you are on the wrong path. They are simply tests that strengthen your resolve. The greatest achievements in life come not from avoiding struggle, but from overcoming it. The challenges you face are what shape you, what refine you, and what prepare you for the greatness that is ahead. To step into your purpose, you must first be willing to release the fear of failure. You must be willing to take risks, to make mistakes, and to learn from them. You must trust that the process, even when it is difficult, is leading you to something greater. There will be times when the world tries to tell you that you are not enough, that you don't have what it takes, or that your dreams are too big. But these are just distractions. Your purpose is greater than your circumstances. It is greater than the limitations you perceive. It is rooted in the belief that you are capable of achieving more than you could ever imagine. Your purpose is not for you alone. It is for the world, for the people who need what you have to offer. The moment you begin to live your purpose, you begin to create a legacy that will inspire future generations. It is not about the wealth you accumulate or the accolades you receive, but about the lives you touch, the difference you make, and the love you give. Your purpose is not just for today, it is for eternity. There is no greater fulfillment than knowing that you are living in alignment with your purpose. It is the joy of knowing that you are doing what you were created to do, that you are contributing to something greater than yourself, and that your life is having an impact. This fulfillment comes not from external success, but from the internal peace and satisfaction that comes with living authentically, with integrity, and with purpose. As we come to the close of this reflection on purpose, it is essential to remember the profound truth that purpose is not a mere idea or aspiration, but a living, breathing reality waiting to be embraced. Each of us has been uniquely created with a specific destiny in mind, a role that only we can play. It is not something we find outside of ourselves, but something that resides within us, waiting to be discovered, nurtured, and manifested. But purpose requires more than just an intellectual understanding. It demands action. It requires us to step out of our comfort zones and into the unknown, even when fear, doubt, and uncertainty try to hold us back. It asks us to rise above the distractions of the world, to ignore the voices that tell us we are not enough, and to trust that the journey we are on is the one we were always meant to walk. The road to fulfilling our purpose is not always smooth. There will be moments of doubt, of struggle, and even of failure. But it is through these challenges that we grow, that we develop the strength and resilience needed to truly live our purpose. It is not in avoiding difficulties, but in overcoming them that we find the power to transform ourselves and the world around us. Every step forward, no matter how small, brings us closer to the person we were always meant to be. Living a life of purpose is not just about achieving personal goals or finding individual success. It is about contributing to the greater good, about lifting others up, and about leaving a legacy that will inspire those who come after us. Purpose is not a solitary pursuit. It is a collective endeavor that brings us into deeper connection with one another. When we live with purpose, we create a ripple effect that reaches far beyond our immediate sphere of influence. Our actions inspire others, our words empower those around us, and our life becomes a testament to the power of living authentically and intentionally. The power of purpose lies in its ability to transform not just our lives, but the lives of everyone we touch. As we align ourselves with the true calling of our hearts, we begin to see the world through a new lens, one of possibility, hope, and deep connection. When we answer the call to purpose, we move from mere existence to intentional living. We move from wondering why we are here to knowing exactly what we are meant to do. And in that knowing, we find a peace, a fulfillment, and a joy that cannot be found anywhere else. So I challenge you today to look within yourself, to discover the unique gifts, talents, and passions that have been placed inside you. Do not allow fear, doubt, or the distractions of the world to keep you from living your purpose. Step forward with courage and confidence, knowing that the world is waiting for what only you can offer. Your voice, your actions, your life have the power to create change, to inspire others, and to leave an impact that will last long after you are gone. Live with purpose. Step into your calling and know that by doing so, you are fulfilling the very reason for which you were created.